Southwest Airlines killing democracy? How far are you willing to go for a fast pass at Disneyland and a special interview with NHL announcer and former player Jamie Rivers? All that and more today on the Number 2 Show. Hey, welcome back to the Number 2 Show. I am your host, Rafe Williams. Good to have all of my fans here. The Royal Throners, the Shithouse Bandits, the Bowl Patrol, if you will. The Cheek Spreaders. Oop, don't like that one. Not going to use that one. Don't like the Cheek Spreaders. We're going to take that one off the table. I don't know exactly what I'm going to call all the fans of this show, but I do know one day, years from now, I may settle on a topic. What do you think it should be called? Leave it in the comments. That's a hip way for me to get engagement. What do you want to be called? People that are watching this show. I've thrown a lot of options out there, and I haven't heard a whole lot of feedback. So let me know. What do you want to identify as? The Number 2ers? Bowl Patrol. That's come back around a few times. That's a popular one. But let me know yours, and maybe I'll read them on the next. Maybe I'll take the top 10 answers with the most likes, and I'll throw them out there. Maybe we'll settle on something in the next year or two. I doubt it. Anyway, moving on. I'm excited to bring you this episode of the Number 2 Show. Got a big show for you. I got an interview with the one and only Jamie Rivers coming up. But right now, it is time for that segment that makes us all feel like a warm blanket, like something we can count on every week, no matter how wild this show gets. That's 15 Minutes with Rizz. All right, Rizz.
Hi. Can I throw out a couple suggestions?
Okay. Yeah.
How about the Dookie Dudes?
All right, let's go Dookie Dudes. That's going to officially.
The Caca Crew?
Dookie Dudes does take away about 50% of the population. But.
Or Dudettes.
Okay. Caca Crew.
The Caca Crew.
Not bad. Anything else?
That's what I got.
All right, Dookie Dudes and Caca Crew officially seconded, hitting the table. I'm going to be honest. I don't think those are going to take.
That's fine.
We'll see. You know what? No bad ideas.
That's
no bad
fine.
ideas. Set your timer. 15 Minutes with Rizz has begun. We are already 37 seconds in. So I'm going to get down to it. Here's something. We kind of talked about this earlier, just touched on the fact. Something I want to talk to you about because I know we both care about this dearly. Southwest Airlines, some kind of topical. They have decided they are now going to charge for a checked bag. Now, as a guy who flies with a family and his airport dad, this kind of changes the game up. We're a Southwest hub in the city we live in. There's a lot of Southwest flights. How do we feel about this?
Well, I will tell you that we have made the decision to fly Southwest Airlines solely for the fact that they don't charge per bag. Like you're allowed, 2 bags? Or you were allowed 2 bags a person.
And a medical
free of
device. Free of charge. You wanted it.
And now that's off the table. Now, congratulations, Southwest. You're now in the same category as Frontier.
Yeah.
You're now in the same category as Spirit.
That's right. And all the other major brands. The thing that I chose Southwest for was once I spent the money, it was done. You know? I was like, it's $350 to fly to Austin. I know I can take a bag with me. I don't have to worry. All I have to do is choose to either log on and try to get a seat or just let the chips fall where they may. Which that's what's next. They're going to start. They've already proposed they're going to start doing assigned seating on Southwest flights.
I was okay with that. I'll be honest with you.
Come on, dude.
I was okay. I was okay with the assigned seats. I've been in many situations where, you got to check in 24 hours in advance, and you're right there. You set your alarm, and as soon as that minute flashes over to when it's exactly 24 hours, and you hit the button that says check in, and you're like, I'm in C. What? Once they started charging for the early A's, the low A numbers, it was over. It was over.
Yeah, maybe, perhaps. But to me, it's the death of a young democracy, man, and that really hurts me. Southwest, the only reason you fly Southwest, it was the Greyhound to the sky. Usually they were nice. I like their pretzels, but there's not a lot of pomp and circumstance, not a lot of frills, if you will. There's no first class in Southwest.
No.
Southwest first class is if it was a flight where you didn't have anyone in your row. If you didn't have a middle seat, you're flying Southwest first class. And It was dictated. It was a young democracy that was dictated on meritocracy. Did you have the get up and go, the gumption to click in 24 hours before and get in that B squad, being up? And there was still an option. If you're a busy guy, you could pay for the little upgrade, but it wasn't a crazy amount of money. It was like,
the rich get to choose where they want to sit, huh?
well, I just think now, it used to be you get there and you're like, all right, now there's a strategy. I'm B12. Do I go to the back? Do we sit in an aisle in a window and then pretend to have a very intense conversation while our backpack just lurks in the middle seat?
Right.
Hoping
pulled that move.
Yeah, me too. Hopefully, there's 7 empty seats on the flight. I'm a big guy. I sit out in the aisle. I let them see I'm taking up space. And maybe me and the missus have a flight where we put the armrests up and we're just chilling and we got nobody in the middle seat. But now that's all
a great feeling.
It's a great feeling. It's a great feeling, and there was always a chance, dude. You always had a chance.
Walk past. Sweet, nice.
Yeah.
Still got that middle seat open. I told you how I've gained the system before, right? Family boarding.
Oh,
the old family boarding, huh? When you got kids, and you go right after the first A group. So it's usually all right. A1 through 15 or A1 through 30.
Right.
Then they do military.
Right.
And then they do family boarding.
But you have to have small kids for that.
Well, yes, you do. Or have a 13-year-old that could possibly pass off as a young child if she puts her head the right way on your shoulder and she pretends she's sleeping.
Which, how old was the cutoff?
6.
Your daughter is small.
Yes.
And you pulled this 6 and under buffet trick on Southwest Airlines.
As long ago as last year.
When she was 12.
12.
So you got a 6-year extension.
Oh, yeah.
On family boarding.
And did I feel bad about it?
No.
Not at all.
I don't blame you.
So I would say, all right, family boarding. I said, all right, let me carry you. Put your head on my shoulder. Pretend you're sleeping.
Yeah.
They ain't going to question. You could have she's got long legs and she clearly is not a 6-year-old.
God, you're smart. That's so smart.
But were they going to question? I could say, she's got a glandular problem.
Yeah. They can't
you
question.
want a doctor's note?
This is the United States, dude. They can't question that. That's that child could be 3 years old in the United States with all the hormones in the beef. That's a good, man. I should have, because I had to travel with the CPAP for a while, and there were a couple times that I forgot to check in. That I'll be honest, I considered getting in a wheelchair, putting my CPAP mask on, and just having Tina push me up to the gate.
Yeah,
and just pretend to have some sort of. They're not going to
clearly has mesothelioma.
Yeah, they're not going to question COPD.
He worked in a factory that asbestos was everywhere.
Yeah.
Have you seen the commercials?
Exactly.
What, are you going to question that?
They can't question.
He's disabled.
Yeah. They're not going to take that. If they're not going to call out your giant 6-year-old, they're for sure not going to call out me being pushed
in a wheelchair.
They don't want
to take a chance
with the mask on, and I'd ham it up, I've taken acting 101 in college in some improv classes. I think I could pull it off. Now I'd feel like kind of a piece of shit. I feel like what you did is way less egregious.
Well, I mean, listen, I could always go online and go, post something on social media saying, can you believe Southwest Airlines? They question my child who has a hormone issue.
Right.
Oh, yeah, she's a very big for a 6-year-old.
Southwest Airlines calls baby fat. They don't want that headline.
No, they don't. It's all about PR. No, they don't want that heat. The airlines get enough shit.
It's just upsetting because this is the domino to fall, because now it's all going to be geared towards the wealthy traveling better than the poors. Southwest Airlines was the last bastion of a young bootstrap democracy where it's like, yes, there is no first class. That sucks. But everyone could be first class. There's always a glimmer of hope. And now we got to pay for the check bag. And then they're going to ding you for the seats. And then next thing you know, they'll be charged
for a carry-on.
Oh, yeah.
You want water and you want this. Now you want landing gear to go down. Okay. That's extra.
Yep.
You bring up being pushed in a wheelchair pretending you have COPD to get on the plane early. Mm-hmm. We are going to Disney in May.
Okay.
And you could hire somebody in a wheelchair.
No. To just be your fast pass?
To be your entrance into the handicap part of the line.
No way.
Yes, you can. There's a service for it.
What is it?
I'm not sure the name of it.
Let's Google that.
But Google that. And
Service for, oh boy. I got all caps on like a real old man right now.
And I'm hoping it doesn't get shut down because I'm
Are you
very
gonna
much considering it.
Oh my God. Oh my God, that's terrible.
You know how much a fast pass is? Way more than hiring a handicap person for a couple days.
And I guess that is technically, you're helping them work.
And they got a free pass to Disney, and they get to go on the rides. I'm just a friend who sure, it's a paid thing. Did you find it?
I'm looking for service for wheelchair fast pass Disneyland. Hiring.
This was, I swear to God, a real thing.
Oh, I'm looking. Uh-oh. Disney World wheelchair tour guide for hire.
Yes, there it is.
You gotta be fucking kidding me, man. All right. Let's see if we can get that on the screen there, Zane. When I heard about rich Manhattan moms hiring disabled guides and paying them $130 an hour so their kids could bypass the standard queues at Disney World, I says to myself, $130 an hour? Wow, I would do it too. The ethical side of my brain said, don't you dare. Since the dark side of my brain always wins, I'm available.
And this is from the perspective of a handicapped person?
Yeah, this is a handicapped person.
Why not?
There are several rides where people in wheelchairs enter through the exit, thus bypassing the entire standard queue and reducing the wait time to 0.
Space Mountain like 4 times in a day.
Dude, $130 an hour. When you're talking Disneyland money, nothing.
Nothing.
This is
genius.
Genius and also yuck. I love it. You got to do this.
Thinking about it.
I'm sending this guy a message for you right now. Let's hire him right now, live on the pod. Daniel Etchberry.
When is this from? Like, what is when is the article dated?
Let's see here. This is from June 2013.
Yeah,
they probably caught on to this guy's grift. Let's see what else we got going on. Disney vows action after report of rich hiring disabled.
Oh, they caught on to it?
That says they halted the line cutting program. Oh. Damn.
Oh, I bet you there's an underground, like.
There's got to be
something. There's still got to be this service.
We're going to look into this because that's crazy.
Awesome. What? Crazy and unethical.
Awesome. Would you do it for real?
If it means I don't have to wait in line.
Let's say $130 an hour. You're going to be there 8 hours a day. It's going to cost you about $1,000 a day.
Right. How much would a Disney Fast Pass be?
I mean, a lot. And
a lot for 4 people?
It's not a guarantee. You can only use Fast Pass a few times. It isn't an unlimited Fast Pass.
So this is basically, I got to buy this guy a ticket for entry to the park and $100-something an hour.
Yeah, probably some ice cream or something. I don't know. I assume that it's not a lactose disability, so he'll probably want some ice cream. Or she. Man, that would be a good deal, dude. You just rolling up.
I can't believe we've never heard of this.
Never in my life.
We're gaming the system here.
That's like there's an episode of Always Sunny where Frank and Charlie want to ride all the slides, so they pretend that Frank has AIDS. So he can go to the front of the line, and he makes Charlie suck hickeys all over his body.
Yes, as for lesions. It's a classic episode.
Yeah, and then there's one unfinished water slide, and they're like, technically we didn't ride them all if we don't do the closed one. And he just pours a little Aquafina bottle of water down, and Frank's like, I'm first, so I can be the first. And he cuts line, and when he goes, the slide's so dry it rips his back open. And he bleeds all over. You see a trail of blood going down, and then everyone thinks there's AIDS blood in the water. Excellent episode.
Yes, it's always sunny.
Maybe you should try that, dude. Do that with your kids. Be like, kids, Dad's going to take his shirt off. I'm not proud of this, but just know that it's good for you.
We're getting to the front of the line.
You want to ride Space Mountain 4 times, sacrifices will be made. Dad coming through. You got it from a gay guy in the 80s? No, this is vagina age.
Well,
good luck on your quest.
Thanks, buddy. Is that it for me? I think that's 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
Nice seeing you guys.
Just went off. All right.
Bull Patrol.
We'll see what they vote on.
All right. Caca crew.
All right. Well, I think we solved the problem of Southwest Airlines. RIP to its young democracy crushed under the fist of capitalism yet again. And I think we figured out how Rizz is going to get his family the more bang for their buck when he goes to Disneyland. We'll be back right after a word from our sponsors. Welcome back to the number 2 show. Thanks for tuning in. Rizz and I just pretty much solved how to use a person in a wheelchair to get a Disney Fast Pass at Disneyland. Trademark, disclaimer, NDA, you can't sue us if you try it. It doesn't work out for you. But now we're back, and dude, I am so excited for this episode because I got to bring one of my good buddies on. I've been lurking for a while. He's one of the hardest working men in show business, but I'm going to talk to him right now. We got a guest on a little segment I like to call Tank Talks. And who better to be a guest on Tank Talks and a man who lives up to his name? Please welcome NHL star and announcer for the St. Louis Blues and close friend of mine and a man who looks good in a Canadian Speedo, Jamie Rivers, everybody.
Well, that's quite the introduction. I do like that you said NHL star. I don't think I've ever had that said after my name before. So I
wanted you to see what it felt like, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Everybody should feel it once, right?
I agree. I was going to say NHL future Hall of Famer legend, but I didn't want to put that much pressure on the NHL to do the right thing. How's it going, man?
Things are good, man. Things are good. You know, busy as always, just like you. You do 1,000,010 things at the same time, and I'm kind of in the same boat. So, you know, we walk a mile in each other's shoes. We know what's going on.
Yeah, dude. You are, with your new gig, you just started this year announcing Blues games, St. Louis Blues, NHL games for Bally's Midwest Sports, correct?
Yes.
And that
Actually, it's changed. It's FanDuel Sports Network.
There you go. FanDuel Sports Network. And that you were already doing a radio show on ESPN and coaching and running camps and raising a family. So I know that you've got a ton of stuff on your plate, man.
Yeah, it's busy. You know, I think I've tried to do my best on learning how to budget my time properly and how to allocate hours of the day in the right way. And it really leads back to, for me, it's more commitment. Like, get up early in the morning. I love to work out, and it's just been a passion of mine for probably about 4 years now. Before that, I was like overweight, sloppy, all those things because it worked out my whole life. And
yeah, dude, it's the athlete curse. When you stop playing, you're so used to somebody making you do it that you pack on some pounds, don't you?
Well, yeah, and you're sick of doing it. Like, to train and to play a professional sport, to play any sport for that matter, but to keep up with all these pros that are, you know, these kids are nipping at your heels every year. Like, you've got to work out till like you're puking every day. And it's fine to go into that psychotic zone when you're a player, but like, you're retired, like, really? Like, do I really have to work that hard? Like, for what? And
like, so, yeah, sir, you can't throw up in the corner of this club fitness. We actually have, we got senior swim getting ready to happen. You're scaring the hell out of these old ladies. And you're like, I'm a machine, baby. Yeah, you got to tone it down a bit.
A little bit, yeah. So I toned it down all right, that's for sure. Ended up ballooning up to like 270 plus as far as weight. And I walk around now about 215, 220. So it was a big adjustment. And tell you what, man, getting back in the gym was awesome, and it gets back to just me budgeting my time. Get up in the morning, make sure the kids are off to school, whatever they got to do, go to the gym, quick shower, and then I'll do, my Synergy Hockey training stuff. That's my hockey company. I get on the emails, answer emails, get on phone calls, do conference calls, set things up, do all my work, and kind of get up to about the noon o'clock hour, and then I go into radio mode and start doing show prep, get on the internet and checking out all these things and researching, and then from 2 to 6 on the radio, and then some days it's 2 to 4, because at 4 I have to leave the station here and head down to the rink and do the Blues games. And so I'm doing TV then from we get there, we do a rehearsal about 5:30, just a quick run through to see what the video looks like that we're doing in the open. And then the game itself goes usually from 7 to 9:30, quarter to 10, about a 35, 40-minute drive home. So my day starts at 6 a.m. and usually ends about 11 p.m.
Holy moly. And do you work out, are you pretty rigid about time? Because I as a comedy person, some guys aren't, but I'm very rigid about, John Cleese, the Monty Python writer, always said, sacred place, sacred time. And he's like, pick a time of day that you can set aside, even if it's 30 minutes, and protect that shit for like this. I do the work here, and I work around it. Are you like that, or do you just kind of get it in where you can get it in?
Well, I'm definitely dedicated to it, but so my time slot shifts because like when we're at home here, I have to get the kids off to school and whatnot. So it's usually about an 8:30 arrival time to the gym and usually about an hour and 10-minute workout. But when I'm on the road and pregame skate starts at 10:30, the first bus is leaving at 8:45, 9:15. That means I have to get up on the road, go to the hotel gym, say 7 o'clock in the morning, get my workout in, get my shower in, because that shower when I'm on the road actually becomes the one shower I take for the day. So I don't get to go back, have a nap, and get ready. Like some of the hockey guys and some of the other announcers have a pregame nap in the afternoon. I work out, I go to the morning skate, get all the information I need, talk to the players, talk to the coaches, get all the lines for both teams, talk to the other team. Then we have a little production meeting to go over like what we're going to talk about in the open, kind of what sparks people's interest, what's the hot topics, kind of spitball that around. Then I hurry back to the hotel. I usually inhale some kind of a lunch of some kind because then I got to get on the radio via the access unit at 2 o'clock if it's central. Sometimes the timing is weird based upon East Coast, West Coast. And so at that point, I start the process is what I call it, is every segment that we have a commercial, and once we do a live read, if we have one, then I'm off to go start changing into my suit. So it's like a process, like pants first, and then shoes, and it's funny because our YouTubers, we call them the Snake Pit. They're awesome. They'll be like, "Ooh, transformation has begun." They've like recognized
dress socks
activated, and so
slacks engaged.
And they always love to try and pick the tie. Like, well, what color's the tie going to be? The jacket.
You guys are probably betting on it.
They might have some side bets.
There's probably some Vegas bets on Jamie Rivers' side. They bet on everything. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. And so by the end of the show, like when I have to log off, I'm fully clothed, ready to go. And I usually just grab my bags, walk out the door, and then it's off to do the game.
Damn. I feel you, brother. I feel the same. I find it hard. Do you find it tough to eat good on the road? A little harder?
It's way harder. And the NHL, I think it stands for the Never Hungry League. These guys are eating all the time.
I know.
Because the players have to stay fueled up and whatnot.
Oh, it's the best.
But for us,
enjoy that metabolism, young men, if you have it, and women. You're in your 20s and you're active. Just enjoy it. That's all I can say.
But for us, like in the media, I remember starting at the beginning of last year, I was like eating, and you get up and do like some kind of a breakfast, even if it's a couple pieces of fruit, yogurt, whatever. Then you got lunch, and then you arrive to the rink, and there's a meal in the media room, so you can eat in the media room. Then post game, you're on a flight heading back to wherever, and the flight now has a meal in it as well. So you're eating like 4 or 5 meals a day, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, how'd I put on 8 pounds? Like, no, you got to be a little more disciplined. So now I try to cut out the meal at the rink. So what I'll do is get up, have a couple pieces of fruit, nothing much in the morning. I'm not a big breakfast guy.
Yeah, me neither. Although I'm hungry in the morning.
I do love breakfast, but at like noon.
Same. I'm a comedian. That's dinner for us. Yeah. We're looking for a diner at 2 a.m. That's the problem.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I got to schedule my meals out accordingly to at least try to stay on track and be healthy a little bit.
Yeah. You gave me some good. I'm down about 20, and I've been doing what you told me to a couple months ago. You're like, hey, just start taking a walk.
Yeah.
Walk X amount away from your house, so you got to walk it back.
Yeah.
And that's actually been working for me, man.
Awesome,
I'm like, all right, 20 minutes, put on a pod, go do it. And I'm starting to see been eating better. I can lose. We talked about this before. I'm a big dude. I played college sports. I didn't play anywhere near your level, but I'm from a big corn-fed Midwestern family. So putting on 20, not a problem. Can do that in a couple of weeks, and I can usually drop 20 in like a month.
Well, You got a big frame too. Like, you got the big shoulders. You're big boned, and I don't mean that in a comedic way. Like
no, I'm a corn-fed baby.
Yeah. For you, you could put on 15, 20 and probably barely notice it because your body can support.
Same with losing it.
What you're doing. Yeah, you're right.
I lost like 25 pounds and nobody said shit to me about it. I'm at work and I'm like, man, somebody's going to say, hey.
Rafe, I think you look sexy as
Thank
hell.
you,
okay,
Jamie.
buddy?
I know, but you understand the struggle. But right now, besides our body dysmorphia issues, I want to wind the clock back because I know you pretty well and I'm interested in all. It's nice hearing your schedule. But before all this, before we got to where we are today, what was life like for little Jamie Rivers? Did you go by Jamie or James when you were a kid?
Jamie. My dad was a James. His dad was a James. And when they named me, he didn't want me to be another James. So he wanted to end that.
So are
right
you a
there.
junior?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
No.
They did that. That's nice. Sometimes you don't want to pile that on.
Yeah.
A kid. Give him a different middle name or something.
No, Jamie it was.
All right. So you've been Jamie from the jump and you grew up where in Canada?
Ottawa, Canada.
Okay.
It's the nation's capital.
Yeah. So is this city living? Did we live outside of Ottawa? What was life like for a young Jamie Rivers?
Yeah, a little bit of both. We had a really small house in the city, and then we also had a cabin. I'd say it's not lake house or a cottage. I mean, this was rural. We had a cabin that had no electricity, no running water.
That's a shack, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had a shack.
We had a shack, and we had an outhouse.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, and
I take it back. Cabin, full cabin.
But it was fun. Like, you didn't know as a kid. Like, at the time you're growing up, you're like, okay, this is kind of awesome. And
awesome, yeah.
At night we would always do my dad would have to cook. He built with cinder blocks and some big grill thing. He built his own massive barbecue so we could cook dinner every night. And after dinner, it'd be bath time. Well, we didn't have a bathtub or anything like that, so we'd take a bar of soap, a towel, and go down to the lake, and that was where you cleaned up. And
now this was at the cabin.
Yeah, the cabin.
But you had another house too, right?
We did. Yeah, we did.
Okay.
And it was, the one in the city was just small, very low income housing, small.
What'd your dad do? What'd James do?
James had too many jobs, and that was the problem. He never really actually had a real job. If that makes any sense. Someone who bounced from job to job to job to job too many times. I love my dad, and God rest his soul. But he was a guy that, I don't call a dreamer, but he always great ideas and always thought he could do something better than the guy who's his boss. Right. And then it always got him in hot water, and then he'd either get fired or he would quit because that guy's an idiot, doesn't understand him, right? So he jumped from job to job to job, and so that kind of obviously affected us growing up. And as a kid, you don't really know it, but now looking back, I'm like, man, that's why things were a little rough for a while there. Yeah.
It's funny when you look at things like that through adult eyes and see it that way. You know, that's how my grandfather was. He was a legitimate hobo. He literally would ride a train, work somewhere for a while, just that was my dad's dad. And there was a different generation back then. And what about how many brothers, sisters, mom? Give me a little bit of family history.
Yeah, my mom, Gail, is a saint because it was just me and my brother. He's 4 years older than me.
Okay.
His name's Sean. He played hockey too. He actually made it to the NHL as well. He kind of carved a path for me as I tried to follow him up the ranks. But, I mean, life was simple, man. It really was. We just went outside and played sports. And my brother and I played every sport: football, baseball, soccer, tennis, hockey, basketball. You were just you weren't like a gym rat, but you were a sports rat in the neighborhood. And so that helped me a lot too, because my brother being 4 years older, I remember the outdoor rink that we'd have, the community outdoor rink. And
playing with the older kids.
Well, you're not at first. There's two rinks. There was one that had the boards, and there was one a little side rink, just learn to skate type of little area for smaller kids and whatnot, or people that didn't want to play hockey.
Right.
And so I remember I'd be stick handling and skating, and you weren't allowed to shoot the puck over on the little rink because people are just skating. I would stick handle for an hour, just in and out of people, all this stuff. Little did I know at the time, it was actually making me so much better because I was stick handling through traffic all the time. And then one day a bigger kid got hurt or had to leave to go to dinner, big problem. So one of the older kids skated over to me and he says, "Hey, do you think you can play in this game?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll give it a shot," And my brother was like, "I don't know, this is pretty, older kids. And anyways, we got playing, and I was good. I wasn't the best player on the ice, but I was good. I was hanging. I was better than some of the guys that were out there. So they're like, okay, this kid's in. So then from that point on, every game that they played, I was invited to play, but I was playing against older kids the whole time. So,
so you were dominating kids at your level.
Yeah. So it's funny how that works. I mean, but it really, like, the speed, for something, it forced me to operate at a higher speed, and I wasn't intimidated of bigger kids.
Yeah.
At all. Like, I feared nothing at that point. So when I got skating with kids my age, I'm scoring 5 goals a game, things like that. It's like, it's craziness. And it was all because I was forced to adjust to, like, the higher level and the bigger kids. And so that's kind of how things kind of kicked off for me.
Yeah, that's like that 80s. I mean, you're a couple years older than me, but we're not super far apart. So you're probably talking like early 80s, maybe late 70s upbringing, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, I'm born in 75. So I remember most things from 1980 forward.
Yeah, that's pretty much the 80s was just like you go outside. I'm sure it was the same way in Canada because that's how it was here. Mom kicks out, you go lurk about the neighborhood all day and you find shit to do. And most of the times that was some kind of pickup game, I had older cousins, so it was like I was getting tossed in with like, hey, we're going to play some backlot football here. You're going to be, and you just got tackled by the older kids.
Yeah.
But then when it came time to play with kids my age, I was better.
Yeah.
I was
and
like, you guys don't even hit hard.
And you don't cry or you don't get hurt, because if you do, then they kick you out of the game.
Right. You learn. Yeah,
you learn like, I think he's got a broken arm. It's fine. I can still catch with the other hand.
Exactly. A lot of it was like coming up with the story to tell mom. A lot of my childhood was like, all right, shit, don't freak out. Because I had 2 little brothers too, and I'd be like, hey, you just got the wind. You got the wind knocked out of you a lot as a kid.
Terrifying.
That's something I don't miss as an adult. Like, when's the last time as an adult you just got the wind knocked out of you?
Probably when I was still playing, which
right.
is, quite 11, 12 years ago now at this point. But
yeah.
There's nothing more horrifying as a child, by the way.
The first time that happens?
Is the first time you get the wind knocked out of you and you're panicking. Like, you're going to die. It's over. You see the light? Like, all this craziness.
Yeah. I'm glad that part of my life's over. I don't want the wind knocked out of me anytime soon. So you and brother skated around. He made it to the pros. You followed suit. It seems like you had like the quintessential 80s. You said you bathed in a lake in a cabin. That's pretty sick. I mean, that's a very Canadian story, dude. Some good old-fashioned Canuck lake bathing.
Yeah, we didn't care. We were good with it.
And mom's still there? Mom alive?
Mom's alive in Ottawa. My brother still resides in Ottawa as well.
Okay.
So, yeah, everybody's doing pretty good.
What's your fondest memory of Gail?
Oh, my God, my mom. Honestly, the woman's a saint. She really is. My father bouncing from job to job.
Yeah.
And my brother and I were adventurous kids.
Roughhousers?
Yeah, aggressive.
Yeah.
Like getting in fights and doing things. And just, she's always there to like kind of pick up the pieces and things like that. So it was, my fondest memory is just that she always she never judged me. No matter what. Like, no matter what I did, it's okay. Give mom a hug. And it would be like, okay, all's better now. Even at this age now, like, I see my mom, whenever I walk over, give her a hug, it's like a time warp, like back to like 7 years old again. And, you just broke the neighbor's window with a hockey puck and everybody hates you. And mom's like, I got you. Don't worry about it. I got you.
that window, little Jamie.
But I do have a fond memory of my mom. And there's a couple of them because she also has a trigger. Like, to be a woman that's living with 3 basically criminals at the time, you have to have an edge to you. And we used to have this little rink in our backyard. It actually was by accident. The water settled one year in this little crappy little backyard that was probably the size of a postage stamp. But we thought it was like the best thing ever. So we'd go out there and we'd shoot pucks. We had a little net that we had built, and you'd be here, bang, bang, clang, clang, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But it was like 7 o'clock in the morning, and I remember my mom was like yelling at us from the side door to the backyard that breakfast was ready. And the neighbor lady popped her head out at the time, and she says, "Hey, do you think you could tell your kids to keep it down?" And my mom goes, "Do you think you could fuck off?"
Hell yeah, Gail.
It was unreal. And I was like, hoo, hoo, hoo. I think the lady's name was...
Write down a quick podcast title. Gail says, "Do you think you can fuck off?" We'll throw that out there. We'll see what YouTube says about it.
So that was one. And
That's great, dude. When you're seeing your mom, a lady that you know, turn into that person, like we all have those brief.
Oh, it's
like me. I got hit in the nose with a speaking spell when I was a kid. By my bully. I stood up to my bully, and in an after-school special, bully learns a lesson. In real life, he hides behind the bus door, hits you in the face with a weapon.
They didn't tell you that part.
I got hit with a speaking spell. You remember those?
Yeah.
Where I'd be like, "You are correct." That's the last thing I heard before I blacked out. He broke my nose, and then my mom pulled him off me. His mom was a big German broad. My mom fights her. My mom gets her ass kicked. Now we're 0 for 2 as a family coming off the bus. And I just remember it was a rough day for the Williams household. Let's just say that. We didn't fare well that day. But it was like nice. I'm like, yeah, my mom just got in a schoolyard fight.
That's
at
hilarious.
the bus stop, with another kid's mom, which was awesome. That is such a great, and I would assume if your family was anything like mine, my mom couldn't own a stick of furniture that we didn't just break.
Oh.
We fucked up everything in the house. That was like a nice moment for me. Was when I finally had this enough money or success to go and buy my mom new furniture.
Yeah.
That was like a big moment for me. I'm assuming at some point in your careers as professional athletes, you probably got to have that kind of moment with your mom.
Oh, yeah.
What was it? Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, it was a couple things. I remember when I signed my first contract, I actually bought them a home, a different house to live in, so they could get out of the little area that we're in. It was fine growing up, but it wasn't the best area.
Sure.
So I bought him a house, and then I bought another little that wasn't a cabin. I mean, it was a trailer, but it's not like a trailer park. It was on a lake. It was lakefront. It was like a nice lot and everything. So and it was right.
Inside toilet.
Yes.
Moving on up.
And I had actually bought the cottage right beside them.
Sweet.
And at one point it was me, my parents, and my brother were all the one side of the lake because it's a little small private lake. And
that's awesome, man.
so I was able to do some things like that and take them on some trips and do some things that they they wouldn't have had a chance to do otherwise.
Yeah, no, as a kid, that's a great feeling. Not everybody gets that opportunity. I'm sure that's a good feeling to be able to show that kind of reciprocal love to somebody that, from what you've described so far, had your back as a kid, no matter what, even when you were being a little shithead.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it just felt great, like you said, but it's almost like you're not repaying them because parents don't do stuff to be repaid.
Sure.
But for me, it was me showing my appreciation.
Yeah, man.
The thank you, Mom, thank you, Dad, I love you both would probably be fine, but I wanted to go above and beyond.
Yeah, dude, it feels good. I was a poor kid growing up, and I get it. Like, being able to be in a position now where I've worked to, she's not going to go to the Taj Mahal, but if she needs a new fridge, I can go buy it for her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To be able to, stuff that I used to watch my mom do without so we could have. And even though she wouldn't want repayment for that, it's nice to be in a position where now when she needs something, I can provide it, even if it's small like that.
Absolutely.
And that's just a good feeling when it's somebody that's shown you, unconditional love your whole life. And how long ago did your father pass away?
I believe it's 3 years now. He, he had so much wrong with him. He had couple of heart attacks, a stroke, triple bypass surgery.
Was he in there telling the doctor, I can do this triple bypass better than you?
Yeah.
I got a better idea than you do.
He had a kidney removed because of cancer. Then he had cancer in his lungs. And I don't know how many times the doctor told us, the end is near. And then 7 years later, he was still alive. And anyways, finally, it all got the best of him in the end. And but yeah, that was about 3 years ago.
She's holding up okay then?
Yeah, she's good. It's weird, we call her Mumsy, so that's her name, Mumsy.
Yeah.
I'm Mumsy would care for him so much, and it was that old school, that generation, right? He would go work, come home, sit on his ass, and she'd feed him dinner, pick up the dishes, do all the laundry, and he'd watch TV. I look at him later on in life, Daddy, you help her. What are you doing? Help her put the dishes away, help her cook, help her put the laundry away. What are you doing? He's I don't know, I'm just. So she cared for him a lot, and when he was sick, and she cared for him, I think it started to drag her down a bit. So you never want to say it's a positive when a parent dies.
Yeah.
But it changed what she was doing in life at that point.
Yeah.
So she got to slow down on some of the manual labor stuff, the tedious stuff every day.
Yeah, man.
Kind of relax a little bit. And so she seems to be doing well. She's got a good little group of friends that she goes and does things with.
Ooh, Gail got a friend. Girl, Gail's getting her groove back, dude.
She is. She goes out dancing with her friends and stuff.
You might have a stepdad soon.
That poor bugger.
Could you imagine meeting a lady you like at like Bridge Club, and you're like, yeah, you're just some old guy, and you're like, I want you to meet my sons, and they're both these giant NHL defensemen.
Yeah.
What are your intentions with my mother? Oh!
No,
you're like the dad waiting for the prom date.
Yeah. No, Mumsy's a pretty good judge of character. So if she was dating somebody at that point, she will have vetted them very well.
She'd put you in line anyway.
She probably would, but just shut up. Go back to St. Louis.
How does she feel about becoming the 51st state as a Canadian citizen?
Oh, God. I don't even know if that's like...
Has that even made its way up there yet?
Oh, it's made its way up there, dude. I'm telling you. People are not happy to hear some of that stuff. And I, on the other hand, living in the United States, I've been down here since 1993.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, maybe it wouldn't be all that bad. I'm sure people in Canada right now be like yelling at me through the podcast.
Yes, there will be comments about that.
Yeah. But I also don't even know if it's even that. I don't even know if Donald Trump was even that serious. Sometimes I feel like he's just trolling the world.
Yes.
Like one day at a time, like something new every week where he can troll the world.
Yeah, I think so too. I think a lot of it is just a lot of blustering and trying to rile people up.
Yeah.
So I got a few more minutes with you. I want to talk about this. Let's move from baby Jamie, little baby Jamie. I wanted you to tell this story, but you've told us so many times. I got other things I want to talk about, so I'm going to skip it. I want to tell people to look up, because you're talking about your dad getting all of his parts removed.
Yeah.
You ruptured your spleen overseas, had an operation, didn't know it, and pretty much died on the operating table at one time, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can tell it pretty quick. I can give you the real short version of it.
Give me the short version, because there's something else I want to talk
no
about
problem.
before you leave.
So I was ending my career playing for a team over in Croatia in the Austrian League, and I hit a guy, and his head hit me right in the sternum. And it's funny enough, the video is like I knocked him out, where the team doctor jumps on the ice, and they're like trying to pick this guy up and whatnot. And I didn't feel anything. Finished the game. The next day, all that stuff. I had my family was over there at the time, put them all on a plane, went back to the apartment. And when I woke up in the afternoon, I was like, body aches and pains. I was like, didn't feel right, but I thought maybe it's just a flu. So I went back to sleep. When I woke up again, I was like, couldn't move. I was in so much excruciating pain. This is like almost 24 hours after the incident. End up going to the hospital where they spoke no English. I had to wait forever, and I was sitting there like, pain. Finally get a doctor that kind of speaks some English, and he tells me,
Bed.
no, he says, we're going to do an ultrasound. I'm like, okay. So they do that, and he's like, it's no good. It's too much liquid. I'm like, what do you mean liquid? Like, he's like, we have to do a camera. I'm like, okay, fine. I go, well, what if the camera can't see? He goes, well, then we'll have to cut you open. I'm like, okay. Like, we're talking like caveman talk, because we're simplifying things.
Yes.
But I'm in so much pain, I don't care. I'm like, cut me open. I don't care. Make this go away one way or another. Lo and behold, the surgery happens, and all that liquid I had been bleeding internally for almost 38 hours now. And so when they made the incision and all that stuff, the heart was pumping, but wasn't pumping enough blood through, so the heart stopped. And so they were paddling me. I know that only because when I woke up, I had these burn marks all over me.
Now, was anesthesia, or did they just go in?
No, there was anesthesia.
Oh, thank God.
But I flatlined while this whole thing was going on, and they kind of give up. They just stopped because it wasn't grabbing, like the heartbeat wasn't coming back. And I remember waking up, and I was like laying on a steel table, butt naked, in the corner of a room, and a bunch of people over on the other side of the room, like talking. And so I'm like, oh, what the hell is going on? So I go to get up, because I'm like, you're discombobulated still a little bit.
Right.
And I feel this pain in my stomach. I'm like, oh, I look down. I'm still cut wide open.
Oh, Lord.
Like my insides are poking out. And I go, oh, fuck. Like that's my friend.
Yeah.
And now.
Yeah, I think that's merited.
In my mind, like this is the movie Hostel. Like they've tried to steal all of my organs, like because I'm not thinking right anyways.
Oh, yeah, dude.
So I keep trying to get up, and then they all come running over, and they push me back down onto the table, and I'm throwing punches, but they're like punches that are like underwater punches because I'm still like half out of it.
Yeah, I know that dream.
So then, they hit me up again and put me out. The next time I woke up, I was in intensive care with like the whole like intubated, this, that, and I was
sewn shut, I hope.
Stapled. So they had grabbed my stomach quickly and just do. I remember that. That sucked because I was awake for that.
Oh.
Yeah, that
they
sucked.
took a Home Depot staple gun to you while you were awake?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, man.
So anyway,
They treated you like Christmas lights.
Yeah, they did. They did. So that's, there's more to it, but I was flatlined. I ended up with a death certificate from the Croatian hospital. They're like, well, here you can take it because you were past 2 minutes, and apparently past that's a threshold. I don't know. You'd have to ask the experts.
Well, technically, you could start a new identity if you wanted to.
I could. And technically now, I think I might be more Croatian than Canadian at this point.
That's possibly true.
I mean, based on the blood transfusions and whatnot. But yeah, so that was the end of my career because after that, anytime a team wanted to sign me to a contract, the medical department for them wouldn't insure me. They said, nope, that's a really big liability.
Yeah, I mean, also, like, don't die on the ice,
I didn't care. I'd rather die on the ice. I actually said that as a kid, like, or even as an adult.
As a young Slavic boy?
But people would always ask me, they'd say, well, how long do you want to play? I'm like, I'm going to play till I'm dead. And I remember my brother, one of the very first things he says, well, asshole, you did it. He goes, you played till you died.
Dude, technically you did.
Yeah.
You played until you died, and then you got to have a life after that.
Yeah.
And people, you can go look that up, and maybe I'll have you back on to tell the long version
sure.
one time. I just know you get gigged for that story all the time, and I had other stuff I wanted to talk to you about. So circling back real quick before I get you out of here. We kind of talked about growing up in Canada, and I understand where you're coming from about your dad passing away. Like when my parents got divorced, I was actually happy for my mom a little bit, which is a weird thing to say because I remember being like, yeah, she basically just, her job was caring for this guy that kind of didn't appreciate her.
Yeah.
And that was just the old school way it was. I'm not saying that it was bad or good or passing judgment. I'm just saying like he wanted dinner on the table. You know what I mean? Like he did his guy stuff, but he wasn't going to like get up and vacuum. You know what I mean?
Trust me, I know that one.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. So, like, my mom, I was like, oh, yeah, you just got released. You got, like, early probation.
You got on good behavior.
From the work program, yeah, which was, I was happy for her. And she went on to have a life and friends and things because her life revolved around him.
Yep.
So, getting to do all those good things for your family. And you and I have had, speaking of families, like, you get in the NHL, you get married, you have kids, you get divorced, things are going well, you're able to help your parents out, but you and I talked about one time, like this happens to everybody, man. Like you hit a bad break and you had to file bankruptcy.
Yeah, that was.
What year was that?
I forget the year.
Because you've had to rebuild yourself, man. And I respect the hell out of you for it. And I want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. No, I listen. I talk openly about it because for me, like, had I been able to hear somebody describe how things went down for them, it may have helped me. But I didn't have that. And it was really weird, man, because you play 13, 14 years in the NHL and people just think you're loaded rich with money.
Yeah.
You're not. The era of paychecks were smaller and I was never a star player. I was the bottom tier player, just scrapping every night to stay in the league. And, like people think like, oh, I made $285,000. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Cut it in half for taxes.
Right.
Now I've got a house in St. Louis. I've got a house, whatever city I'm playing in. So add internet, phone, all this stuff that it ends up being a nice living, but like not retirement for life money.
Yeah. And you're trying to save some of that because you don't play forever.
Correct.
You don't ever know if next year's your final year.
We're trying to save as much as you can and you're trying to invest in things. And anyway, so for me, it just spiraled, man. Like the last couple of years of my career, I bought up some real estate stuff, did some like buying of old houses, flipping them. It was going okay. It was fine. Like it was like you make 15 grand, you make 17 grand. It wasn't like 35, 40 grand profit.
You weren't buying Trump Tower and flipping it.
No, I didn't have that kind of money.
You were buying like a 2-family in South City.
100%.
Right.
And then so there was one, and this was the straw that broke the camel's back, was two things. One, my injury, because all of a sudden I was earning $0. And I hadn't planned for that because I was still in pretty good shape. I could have played in Europe for another 4 or 5 years, making a couple $100,000 a year, tax free. You know, and you're like, okay, this is great. You know, now I can kind of work my way towards like the next steps.
Right.
Well, my career ended abruptly. I didn't have the next steps, and I had no life skills as far as like jobs. I'd worked at a gas station when I played junior hockey. That was my job, pumping gas and cleaning windshields. So I didn't really have any of that stuff available to me to like use as a resource. I didn't have a college education because when I left high school, I went to the NHL. So lo and behold, I'm doing this real estate stuff. We live in a pretty nice area here in St. Louis at the time. And one of the Rams players, I'll keep his name out of it because it ends up being
Marshall
weird.
Falk. I get it.
No, it wasn't Marshall. It wasn't.
Oh, Kurt Warner. Yeah, no big deal. No big deal.
Anyways, this player got traded to another team.
Yeah.
And he left his house with a bunch of buddies. Well, his buddies turned it into like a frat house.
Right.
And I remember talking to this Rams player because he and I got to be pretty good friends. You know, it was like a cul-de-sac of 3 or 4 houses, and you just got to know each other. And so I called him in the city that he was now traded to, and I said, hey, dude, your house is getting just demolished, man. I'm like, I walked through the other day just to say hi to your buddies, and it was a disaster. Like, there's spray paint on the walls. The dog has ripped the stairs apart. There's piss everywhere. Like, I'm like, what are they doing? So he got, mad at that. So he ended up walking away from the home. I don't know if he went bankrupt or just let the house get foreclosed on, whatever it was. So as soon as it went into foreclosure, I thought, wow, you know what? I can get this for pennies on the dollar, and I know what this neighborhood is worth.
Right.
So I scooped in all of my resources at the time, put it into this house, transformed it back into an amazing home. And then about a month before I went to put on the market, it was that massive real estate depression.
Yeah, like 08.
Yeah. And so everything crashed. I end up losing money on this whole thing. So any money that I had invested anywhere else, plus this investment, and then the lack of income. And then what nobody knows is when I got home from playing over in Europe, like, I don't have a doctor. Every doctor I've ever had was team doctor. And when I'm over in Europe, it's team doctor. Right. So I came back and I'm not in great shape. Like, I still feel crap. Like, something's wrong with me. Things are happening. And it's like, they didn't do the best job, obviously. So I needed medical attention back here. And anyways, end up being
still married at this time?
Yeah, at this time, still married.
Okay.
And it was like $130,000 worth of medical bills. And I had no money, everything. So I was like, I have no choice. I have to go bankrupt. And I talked to a bankruptcy lawyer, and he walked me through it. They were dark days, man, because you're at the height of your profession.
Right.
Top level. People are screaming your name. They want your autograph. They want this. They want that. And I'm sitting here, and I had to drive my Suburban to a parking lot where there was a bar and meet a guy so he could take my truck instead of him coming to my home to embarrass me and repo the truck.
Damn. Yeah.
And I remember giving him the keys, and I was going to just walk home from there because I needed to cry at that point. And I did. And I cried. And
you walked home?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It wasn't that far, but I walked home. And then, we lost the house at that point. It was a beautiful home. We had nowhere to go. My mother-in-law at the time, she stepped up, helped get a small home for us just to get started. But dude, I had no job. I had no money. I bought a $700 pickup truck. I was filling this thing up with pocket change. Like, anytime somebody had change, I putting that in my gas tank. So I'd be like, I need a $3.75 on pump 2, please. And so I started helping out a little bit with some hockey stuff, but it wasn't lucrative. It's not enough to like support family.
Sure.
It was awful. And I was, I had become addicted to painkillers because, like, when they sent me back from Croatia, the doctors gave me these, like, it was like morphine, pills of like morphine, because I was still in so much pain, but I wanted to get the hell home. And so you're taking these pills. I didn't really know what they were, like,
sure,
they made me feel better.
They're medicine.
Yeah, it was like, okay, great, took the edge off. Well, your body becomes addicted to that. And so then you're like, you need more. I'm talking to the doctors here, and I'm still in a ton of pain. And again, I'm going through the medical process of trying to get fixed up. But in the meantime, like, there's no fix for me except for give me more pills. And I didn't go like such down a dark path to where I was like robbing people or like had to run away and like, I was still getting it from a doctor, and the doctor wasn't doing anything illegal, or he was just. But I became dependent on those pills.
Right.
And alcohol involved too at the time, and it was brutal. It was brutal. It kind of worked its way down the road a little bit, and then oddly enough, like a buddy of mine, Tony Twist, was a teammate of mine with the Blues. One of the best fighters ever in the NHL. Oh yeah. Just a kick-ass dude.
And in the city of St. Louis.
Yes.
Just out and about.
Yeah, just out and
People
about.
People would try to fight him like idiots, and I don't know why they would ever do that, but that's another story for another time. Go ahead.
They would leave having to drink their meals through a straw for 4 weeks.
They did.
But I was over at his house, and he was like, hey, man, what's up? I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm screwed. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'd never told anybody.
Yeah.
There are people like to this day, St. Louis Business Journal put out an article, 6, 7, 8 months ago, something like that. And that was the first anybody had heard of it.
Yeah.
I didn't tell teammates, alumni, anybody else, because one, I don't want a handout.
Yeah, it's that old stiff upper lip.
And two, I was embarrassed.
Yeah, it's both those things.
My pride was like damaged. So for me to tell Tony about all this stuff, he says, well, listen, he owns a windshield company, does mostly like fleet management for all the big trucking companies here in St. Louis. And he's like, listen, let me pick you up tomorrow. He says, have a pair of work boots on, I'll have a t-shirt for you to wear and wear a baseball hat, bring a lunch with you, whatever. He says, you'll work with me. And he worded it that way on purpose because he knew I was like fragile at that point.
He worked for me.
He said,
that's a good friend.
Yeah. And so I started driving around with him, and we would bop in and out, and it was kind of cool because a lot of the places I went, they knew who I was. So it's kind of cool again to be out there, and people are like, oh, Jamie Rivers, I remember this, I remember that. So it's at the same time, it's kind of rebuilding some of my confidence.
Yeah.
And I worked with Twister, and then I was slinging windshields. I was working 12, 13-hour days, climbing up and down trucks, lifting 150, 200-pound windshields, putting them in. Like I was earning my keep.
Yeah.
But I was okay with that. Hard work has never been a problem for me. And so I was doing that, and then Twister could still tell, like, I was scraping by. Like, we were putting food on the table.
Right.
But, like, it was rough. And he's like, dude, what else can I do? He's like, I can't just, like, give you money. Because I'm like, I don't want your money. He's like, well, what if I helped you start a business? I go, well, like what? And he goes, like, you do some of that hockey training, And actually, let me go back for a second.
Sure.
Because the hockey training actually started because of another guy named Todd Ewan, who, again, was an NHL tough guy. And I was sitting in the old Hardee's Iceplex in the lobby one day and feeling sorry for myself. And whether it was justified or not, I don't know. It was in a dark spot. So I was like, you know what?
Yeah, dude.
Sitting here, just whatever. And Big Huey was a massive dude. Sits down. He's like, hey, what's wrong? That's the way he talked. I'm like, I'm just not doing well. Well, what's your problem? I'm like, well, I don't really know what to do. I don't have a job. And he goes, hey, idiot, you've got a PhD. I looked at him, I'm like, okay, Huey, I know you've been punched in the head a lot. I'm like, I never went to college. He goes, asshole.
Professional hockey degree.
Yes. He said, you have a PhD in hockey. He goes, how many guys in the history of the NHL have played as many games as you have? He goes, go check it out. You have a PhD. You can bring something to this community that very few, next to nobody, can do.
Yeah, dude.
And I was like, okay, well, what is it? He goes, I don't know what that is. He goes, that's up to you to figure it out. He goes, you need to figure out how to use your PhD for a way to you to make money. He goes, once you do, everything will be fine. And it's fucking words that never left my soul. They still don't.
Yeah, man.
And unfortunately, Huey took his own life.
Damn.
It sucked. And that was CTE had hit him because he had his brain examined post-mortem and whatnot. But
damn.
But anyway, so fast forward to the talk with Tony Twist, and he's like, well,
what's interesting about that too, man, is like, it's good to have friends like that. I had an old mentor that used to say, sometimes you got to believe in other people's belief in you until your own belief kicks in.
Yep.
And when you're at a low point like that, you need to hear it from somebody else at the right time.
At the time, it was
all those
perfect.
things were true. And I'm sure when you were working with Tony, I kind of am curious, was all some of the stuff, and I'm not throwing any dirt on your old man's name. I don't want to sound like that, but I know I have an interesting relationship with my father too. And sometimes I think in your head, all those things you told me about, like, oh, jumping from job to job, or I can do it better than this person, or like almost feeling like they're above the work. Did that make you more determined to get your hands dirty and be in there and bust your ass and do the work every day?
Well, yeah, and as a young kid, I always prided myself on always outworking anybody. I could outwill anybody. I'd rather die than lose. And I truly mean that. Like, I would. I would rather die than lose at something. And so for me, this was a big game of life. And I'd rather die trying.
Now I know why you choked me during that check. That makes more sense. I wish you had told me that before we played.
Sorry. It was in the disclaimer. Right. You should have read it.
I was like, hey, dude, this is Battleship. You're not supposed to actually physically assault me. And you're like, sorry, bud.
Got to do what you got to do, Rafe.
Right.
Come on. But no, it helped me prepare for this moment in life. And
yeah, man.
So then we go back to that talk with Tony, and I told him about my discussion with Todd Ewan and whatnot. And I'd started to do some really small on ice training with some local youth hockey kids. And I was like, I kind of like this. It's kind of good. And so some of the NHL guys at the time then like sought me out and said, hey, we know you're doing some stuff off ice. It's the off season at this point. Would you mind running a couple practices? Yada, yada, yada. So like Alex Steen, Alex Pietrangelo, Braden Shen, these guys, I'm out there skating the NHL guys. Cam Jansen was still playing. I'm skating Cam Jansen out there and doing my thing. And I kind of got a bug. I was like, this is awesome. But then the season ended, or the off season ended. Mm-hmm. Well, now what? They go back to their teams, right? So I went back to Twister. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what to do. And he's like, he says, do the same thing with youth hockey, dude. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, do the same thing. He goes, what if I give you some money and we just start this company and you just get it going? He goes, I don't want anything to do with it. He's like, you just do it, pay me back, and then you're off running. Well, lo and behold, at the same time, there's a couple other individuals locally here that had recognized my work on the ice, and they approached me with a very similar deal. And they said, listen, we want you to be the face of the company. The whole company will be all of your intellectual property. Like, you are the company.
Awesome.
And they said, we have a couple of ideas how we can kind of kick this off and whatnot. And so we did. I started running small little camps, like 10, 15 kids on the ice, and have like a buddy help me and like kind of pay him a little bit and whatnot. And then it grew and it grew and it grew. And like by year 3, man, it was awesome. We had like 500-600 kids coming through the program. I'm working with the NHL guys in the off season, junior hockey players while we're in the off season as well, all the youth hockey for camps. And so this company is ballooned now to where, we had like close to 1,100 kids come through the program last summer, and that's in 11 weeks. So it's become something, but it became my moneymaker at the time.
Yeah.
And then just to kind of move it along, Jeff Burton, a dear friend of mine, we all love Jeff.
Love Jeff. He's right here behind me.
Yeah, Jeff got me started in radio. He did. He would have me and Jim Campbell on the Jeff, Trish, and Tom show, which was basically like the Rizz show now. It was eons ago. And we go on for it. Friday mornings, go on for like a half hour and just talk and do silly stuff and whatnot. But I was comfortable doing it. So fast forward now to where I've got this hockey company going. 101 ESPN, Chris Duncan, he was going through some battles with cancer.
Right.
And so they were bringing in like guest hosts. And Jeff said to me one day, he goes, would you want to come in and do it? He goes, I can talk to the program director and see if he'll let you come on and whatnot. He goes, they're looking for people. I was like, yeah, hell, why not? Let's do it. Walked in. Anthony Stalter was doing the midday all by himself pretty much. I come in. He and I hit it off. First segment, like, I don't know. I no radio training. To me, it was just like, we're having a talk here. Like, some of the old radio was like, you talk, I talk, you talk, I talk.
Sure.
I came in and Anthony.
I don't come from that world either.
No, and Anthony said something. He tells a story better than me, but he says.
Also, Jeff got me onto this show originally as a comedian, which is a connection you and I share.
There we go. But the first segment we have, me and Anthony, he's saying something. I'm like, no, I totally disagree. And Anthony's eyes got huge. He was like, what? Like, looked over at me like, what is this guy doing? As I was like, no, I disagree. And then he kind of battled back. I battled back with him. We went back and forth for 7-8 minutes. He went to commercial, and he just pulled off his headset, looked at me. And I was like, what? He goes, what you just did, keep doing that. I was like,
can you do that every day?
I was like, okay, fine. So then you're laughing, but that's kind of what happened is.
No, I believe it.
I wasn't being paid for any of this stuff because, you either have to be on the payroll or you're not type thing. So Anthony said, just keep coming back every day until they tell you can't come back anymore. So there was a big swell there because I started on the radio and whatnot. And now the Blues, that's the 2019 playoff run. So I'm already on the radio before the playoffs start, but then the playoffs start, and 101 gives me the Road to the Cup. Basically, was like this little 1 hour show a week that we did. And so I started doing that. I was doing the midday. Then at the time, it was Fox Sports Midwest. Asked me if I'd be interested in helping out do some of the TV stuff at the desk. So I'm like, yeah, sure. I'd love to do that. So that's when that started. So all of this started with Todd Ewan telling me, you have to find a way to use your PhD in hockey.
Right.
Now it's expanded because I talk baseball, football, all sorts of other things as well, which, that was a whole other obstacle to get comfortable doing that. But
the foot in the door was
hockey. It was the Blues,
card,
Blues stuff, the hockey. And then the Blues go on to win the Stanley Cup.
Comedy was my currency to get into the morning comedy radio show. But then, I learned other things about radio along the way. So I totally get that, man.
Yeah. So the Blues win the Stanley Cup. And there's a massive spike in interest in Blues hockey and hockey talk and all sorts of stuff. So then Tommy Mattern comes to me and says, hey, would you like to have a full-time gig on the radio? The midday show with Anthony. I said, sure. Why not? I'm like, at the time, I don't know how I'm going to juggle my time here because I'm trying to run a company too, and that's really the main breadwinner. I don't know what these people make in radio. It's fun to do, but I don't know. I haven't been paid yet,
Right.
And so I took the job blindly. I was like, screw it, let's go. And then Fox Sports became Bally Sports, and my role increased to where I was getting from 20 to 30 to 40 to 50 games at the desk for pre and post. Then Darren Pang started doing national stuff, so then I started doing his job and the desk, and then it just kind of progressed to where I'm doing the main job now in game. And this is where we are, man. This is where we are today. So it went from, handful of change to put in the pickup truck to drive it to where I'm very proud to have a successful company, successful radio show, and what I think to be a real good broadcast on a nightly basis.
Yeah, man, you're killing it, and you've earned it. That was kind of why I wanted to talk about it, dude. This wasn't, I think sometimes people think because somebody made it in a sport that everything gets handed to them. You had to work for it just like everybody else, man, and I'm super proud of you. I know that was a tough thing to go through. I'm proud to call you a friend. At some point during this process, how many kids do you have?
4.
So you have 4 kids.
Although I keep my phone on Father's Day.
Huh?
Although I keep my phone on Father's Day.
Wait, might have a Croatian floating around out there. That's what's weird. You're going to have a DNA match. It's not even yours from the blood transfusion.
He's 23 and me, my ass.
My father, it is nice to meet you. And you're like, no. You're a spleen baby. What year did you get divorced?
Be approaching 4 years, August.
Okay, and you're with Ashley now?
Yeah, Ashley's
great.
Oh, she's awesome. She's the best.
I'm lovely human being. She has kids too, so how many kids total are we looking at here?
6 total. So 6 kids, 2 dogs, a cat, and a bearded dragon.
Nice. What's the bearded dragon's name?
Carlos.
Hell yeah. Carlos the Bearded Dragon. Definitely going to be the name of the podcast. And you were telling me, and I just want to touch on this quickly because you're over time and I know I got to get you out of here, which I admire this about you, man, throughout this whole thing. And you left that part out while you were telling this story about, basically coming from nothing to where you're at now and all the changes that you had to make. You also had to go through a divorce. Yeah. And you and your ex-wife live in the same neighborhood, correct?
We did. So initially, my youngest daughter at the time, she was, 11, I think, when it all started going down. And I was looking for a place to rent. I certainly wasn't going to buy at that time. And she said, Dad, can you just do me one favor? I said, well, what's that? She says, can you make it so I'm never unhappy to be at your home? I was like, well, what do you mean? She goes, somewhere close.
That's a hard thing to drop on an 11-year-old, man, on a man.
Yeah.
A daughter.
What she meant was, she didn't want to have to leave her neighborhood all the time and be like, Dad lives in Creve Coeur and Mom lives in Cottleville,
Right.
And so I managed to find a house that was right around the corner, same subdivision, like Jerry Springer stuff.
To me, that's not Jerry Springer stuff. I actually think that's very cool. I think I've talked about this on the other show, and that's why I wanted to bring it up. I think that it's cool. You have kids, even if, you can't always be super amicable. You never know what went down. But if you can figure out a way to not hate each other, not make each other look bad to the kids, and to be around where the kids' life don't get crazy disrupted. So like you were managing all these big changes, and you still managed to like put your family first, which I thought was admirable, especially hearing some of the stories you said, you know, growing up poor. Like it was important to you to build like a life and to build something for your kids and to be able to be a dad and be there for them. And I think that's a really admirable thing that you did. And I think that's super cool.
I appreciate that.
And man, you take, you know, Ashley talks highly of you and you take good care. She has kids. She's like, you're great with her kids and you take care of them, man. And like, you're just a good dude, brother. Like you're, you know, I think a lot of people, they see the athlete and that's all they see. And there's so many more elements to a human being. And we've seen both. I've met famous people and athletes that are pieces of shit behind the scenes. And I've met people that are some of the best humans that I know. And I put you in the latter category, my man, because you're just a good ass dude. You are a salt of the earth guy. I consider you a true friend. Man, I appreciate you being here today.
I appreciate you very much, and yeah, you're a true friend as well. And it was great, man. Great talking on here, and I just appreciate you having me on and tell the story a little bit.
And you got to go do your show. So real quick, give them the plugs. Tell them where they can find you, all your fucking jobs. Tell them all of it.
Synergy Hockey. You go to the website, synergyhockeyskills.com. You find all of our programming on there. And obviously the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. The show is from 2 to 6 p.m. daily, Monday to Friday. And then TV work on the FanDuel Sports Network, home of the Blues. And you can find me on there several nights a week.
He's there. He'll be talking till they drag him out of the building or he's dead. Apparently that's
how I roll.
That's all his contracts. He's like, you want a 3-year contract? He goes, dead. Just put dead at the end. And honestly, man, a theme that I saw reoccur here that I think is interesting, that also speaks volumes to what a great dude you are, man, is like getting help from your friends. Your friends are your chosen family, and it seems like you surrounded yourself with good people, and because you were a good person, it seemed like people were there for you to help you along the way when you needed help. And I think that speaks volumes about who a man is on the inside, man. So
I appreciate that.
All right, man, get the fuck out of here. Go do your show. And don't think I'm scared to fight you just because you're willing to die over a game of checkers. I'm from the country, bro. All right. Thanks a lot to Jamie Rivers, and I'll be right back to wrap this thing up after word from our sponsor. And we're back. Thank you for watching another number 2 show. I want to give a special thanks to Rizz and my special guest, NHL superstar and future Hall of Famer, whether he likes it or not, Jamie Rivers, for coming in and telling some really candid stories about his life, about his struggles. Man, because I think a lot of times we go through life and we think we know people, or we think we know what they've gone through. Everybody's fighting a battle you don't know about, man. And I talk about that a lot on this show, and everybody's got their own little private obstacles and struggles, and you know, even people you might think got it made, they're fighting the same fight that everybody out there is fighting, man. And we're all just human beings trying to do the best we can in this world. And I appreciate how candid Jamie was about his life growing up, some of his struggles, and his comeback. And I'm proud of that dude. And you know, that's a success story that I can fucking get behind. And I was so glad that he would come in and share all those stories with us. I'm sure you can Google the story about him dying on the table and get a much longer version of it. But, man, we hit it all today. Me and Rizz solved democracy on Southwest flights right out of the gate. Boom. That's a big one. We got you covered for the Fast Pass at Disney as long as you don't care about how people look at you. And then Jamie Rivers and I really we got in there. We got a little soft and gushy with each other, even though he is willing to fight me to the death, apparently, over anything that he will do. That's just his mentality. That's fine. I'll fight his big ass. I don't care. He's been cut stem to stern and had his spleen removed. He better be careful who he's messing with. I barely had my gallbladder out. But the important thing is, let's wrap this thing up. I appreciate you guys watching. If you enjoy this show, and I hope you do, please leave a comment below. Don't forget to leave a comment about what you want to be called. The Bowl Patrol, the Poo Pirates, the Ass Cheek Spreaders. I don't vote for that one, but if that's what you want to put down there, put it down there. If you had a good time, if you enjoyed Jamie's interview, make sure to follow him. Make sure to keep track of his career. And here's the thing, guys. This is a weird podcast. I admit that to you. I don't want it to be your favorite podcast. I want it to be your second favorite podcast. It's the number 2 show. We all run out of stuff to listen to. I got my favorite pod. I listen to it when I'm going to bed at night. And then the next night I got to go to sleep. And I'm like, shit, I'm out of podcasts. I wish I had a podcast. Well, that's what I want to be to you. I want to be your, shit, I do have podcasts. It's Number 2 Show podcast. And you go listen to it and you're like, it really is my second favorite podcast. You never know what you're going to get. It's different. It's not true crime. Okay. I'm not talking about, it's not a baking show. Okay. I'm not talking about, it's not a talk soup thing. You never know. Every episode's different. It is just a live show. Me and my thoughts from a toilet. The only talk show in this genre. So not having a genre, it actually helps me if you like and subscribe and share and leave a positive review on Spotify or Apple or YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts and help other people find it. Because the more it gets reviewed, the more comments that it gets. I know it sucks, but we live in an algorithmic world, and it helps other people see it. And I want to be able to keep doing this and keep growing the fan base so we can do more cool stuff and interviews like today. So I thank you again. I digress. Please like and subscribe. Follow the Number 2 Show. We're dropping one every week. And I hope I see you next time. And until next time, I have been your host, Rafe Williams. This has been the Number 2 Show. Always, and I mean always, white front to back.